Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are nearing the end of the season and I know some of you guys are still probably trying to climb the legend, so the goal for today's video was to find a team that was pretty consistent in the Open Great League and one that would be really strong at getting wins. Like, I was messing around with Spice before I recorded these battles and then I thought maybe I should try recording something helpful. So I dropped to around 29-14 running Spice and trying out different things. And then I was like, okay, let me actually try. And with this team, I used it for 4 sets and I was able to get back up to legend rank with it. I made it to 2999, which is, you know, close enough. So I know that this team is going to work for you guys if you choose to use it. The team is going to consist of 3 really bulky Pokemon, but you know, it works. If it works, use it. And it may seem like the team is weak to Alolan Sandslash, but I have several examples in this video of how to counter the Alolan Sandslash. Also, the team is a little bit weak to Gligar, but I wasn't seeing a lot of Gligar in my sets. So the team is going to be Serperior on the lead with Carbink and Shadow Steelix in the back. Usually the Carbink is on the save swap, but sometimes I save swapped Shadow Steelix. Both are really decent save swaps. So of course you're going to have the Serperior for the water types, the fighters, and the grass types because it has that aerial ace. And then you have the 2 anti-flyers in the back, slash anti-ice. Also, they can deal with poison pretty well. So they complement Serperior very well. And I got some really amazing games. Some of them were so close. And I should say that my Carbink is level 40 and it is a 98. So it is 15-15-14. If you have a good Carbink, imagine what you can do with this team. I have a good one. I don't have the excels for it yet. Maybe eventually in the future I will, but for now I am using this one and it worked out. So, that's enough from me. Let's get into these battles. These are so good. Up first, we are going to be seeing a Golbat on the lead. Already a really bad lead for us. I am going to save swap into my Steelix this time. I decide to save swap into Steelix, but I think that this was the right choice in this case because I managed to draw out a Swampert and Steelix actually has a pretty decent matchup against Swampert. I decide here that I'm going to go ahead and double shield my Steelix. This way I could win switch and then my Carbink is going to be aligned to the Golbat. So I'm going to go ahead and debuff the Swampert and then this Hydro Cannon is not going to be doing enough to take us out. I'm going to be able to Dragon Tail the Swampert down and then my opponent brings in a Toxicroak. So I'm going to bring in Serperior. It's not great for me, but Serperior can reach 2 aerial aces and can take the Sludge Bomb because it's pretty bulky. However, my opponent swaps out back into their Golbats, and now I can bring in my Carbink and just Rock Throw it down completely. I'm going to do this that way I can have some energy for the Toxicroak. So I'm going to throw Moonblast on the Toxicroak and take their final shield, and then I can reach an aerial ace on Serperior, and I should be able to live the Sludge Bomb that they're going to throw here. And yes, we comfortably live it, and then I'm going to reach that aerial ace, and because the Toxicroak is very squishy, it is going to take them out. GG's to my opponent. Moving on to the next match, we are going to be seeing a Clodsire on the lead, which is not going to be great for us if he is running Sludge Bomb. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay in with Serperior because Clodsire absolutely walls Carbink, so I should try to win lead here if I can. I'm going to go for these Frenzy Plants, and thankfully they don't shield the first one. And it turns out that this Clodsire is actually running Stone Edge, so it's not going to be doing too much damage to Serperior. And then my opponent swaps in a Sableye, and I bring in Carbink because Carbink walls Sableye, and unfortunately they top left. I know a lot of people hate it when bulky Pokemon like Carbink are showcased, but if you're trying to get to Legend, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. Anyways, moving on to the next match, we are going to be seeing an amazing lead of Lantern. Now my opponent is immediately going to swap into Alolan Sandslash. Okay, this is where it gets tricky. I'm going to bring in Carbink because Carbink is actually going to be doing quite a bit of damage with the rock throws. So my plan here is to double shield the Carbink so that I could win the switch. Unfortunately, I have to give up my shields, but at least I was able to get a shield from them with one of the rock slides. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and live this drill run, and my opponent is going to no-shield this rock slide, which is really good for me. I wasn't actually sure if I would live the consecutive Shadow Claws afterwards, so I'm glad that my opponent let that rock slide go. And then they bring in Machamp, but here's the thing, I need the Superior on the Lantern, so I bring Steelix into Machamp because actually that matchup also isn't too bad because you're debuffing Machamp and there's nothing that they can hit with super effective unless they're running Dynamic Punch. But my opponent brings back their Lantern and now I can bring in my Superior, and I tried to leave with 2 Aerial Aces stored, but the Frenzy Plant did a little more damage than I expected it. However, I am still able to reach the 2 Aerial Aces on my Superior, and I land one of them on the Machamp, and then we can land a Breaking Swipe on the Machamp and take them out. Moving on to the next match, we are going to be seeing a Superior on the lead. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky because I need my Superior to stay healthy in case the opponent has a Water type or a Fighter in the back. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to no-shield the first Aerial Ace. I'm going to go for a second Aerial Ace and hopefully it lands. It does. Thank goodness. I'm going to go ahead and shield the next Aerial Ace because I need my Superior to stay healthy. I'm going to catch the third one on my Carbink, and they are in range of Rock Throw. So I was okay with doing that. I know they can't get to a Frenzy Plant, and we draw out the Machamp. This is exactly where we want to see the Machamp, and hopefully my Steelix will be able to sweep whatever my opponent has in the back. I'm going to go ahead and bait with a Rock Slide, and we managed to take a shield from our opponent. However, they are going to go ahead and throw Psychic before we can throw another Rock Slide. And now I'm going to bring in my Superior, and I'm going to go for this Frenzy Plant, and it lands, and then I can catch the Ice Punch on my Steelix. I actually remember now why I did that. I thought they might have Lantern in the back because they led Superior, so Lantern in the back made sense. And they were also double weak to flying, so I thought Lantern. So I thought I'd need the Superior for later, but they have a Dugong in the back, so this is going to get a little bit tough. All I can do here is debuff it with these Breaking Swipes, and then I'm going to take a debuffed Drill Run. It's okay, it doesn't take us out, and we live with very little HP on our Steelix, and we managed to bank a Breaking Swipe on the Steelix. Now, I'm going to go for an Aerial Ace against their Superior, and they give up their final shield, which is perfect for us. I just have to hope that I can live one Vine Whip. We do, and we're able to land the Breaking Swipe on the Machamp and take them out. GG's to our opponent. But moving on to the next match, we are going to be seeing a Quagsire lead, which is really good for us. Our opponent is going to swap into Dugong. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stay in a little bit, build up to the Frenzy Plant, and then bait with an Aerial Ace. I tried to catch an Icy Wind on my Carbink, but my opponent continued to farm, so they go ahead and go for a Drill Run. I shield the first one, and I'm going to let the second one go. I'm going to go for a Rock Slide before they can reach a third Drill Run. I don't want to take another one. And then we are able to take them out. My opponent is of course going to bring back in this Quagsire. I'm going to go for Moonblast because it's the only neutral hitting move I have for this Quagsire, and then they're going to go for a Mud Bomb, but it looks like they undercharge it, which is really smart. They're able to farm us down completely, and then they have a lot of energy to throw at Superior. I go ahead and I shield the Stone Edge, and then my opponent brings in a Mandibuzz. This is okay. I'm going to bring in our Steelix immediately. I'm gonna go for the Breaking Swipe as soon as I get it, and then we're going to start debuffing this Mandibuzz so that we can try to win this. Now our opponent is running Dark Pulse, which is going to hurt more than Foul Play. However, we are debuffing them, so the opponent usually needs 3 Dark Pulses to take out a Steelix, but look at this. Because we debuffed them, we are able to live with 1 HP and bank the Breaking Swipe, save it for later, and I had a feeling my opponent was going to try to snipe us with the Mud Shot, so I immediately swapped into my Superior, and I go for that Aerial Ace, and we take their final shield, and my opponent has to throw before I can reach a second move, and because we have that Breaking Swipe stored, we're going to be able to throw it immediately, take out the Mandibuzz, and take that win. That's another positive set with this team. We go 3-2. For the losses, I didn't feel like there was anything that was really important to show. I was still learning how to use the team, but I am including some losses in this video. Don't worry, they are coming. but for that set, they weren't that important, honestly. Nothing really happened that was interesting. Moving on to the next game, we are going to be seeing a Victory Bell on the lead. They shielded our first Aerial Ace, and then they caught the second one on their Alolan Ninetales, and we have a Carbink in the back for this Alolan Ninetales. I'm going to go ahead and farm it down completely with our fast move, and then they are going to bring in the Victory Bell. I do go ahead and shield here because I want to get the Rock Slide off. Also, it was still very healthy, so it was either I take their shield here or I land the Rock Slide. Thankfully, we landed the Rock Slide, but our opponent has a Shadow Machamp in the back. When I saw this, I was like, uh-oh, what am I gonna do here? So I decided to bring in Steelix, hoping that the Dragon Tails would do enough damage to this Machamp to put it in a range where I can Vine Whip it down. Now he's 3 counters away from a Cross Chop, so I just had to hope that 3 Vine Whips would be enough to KO, and they do. Thankfully, that was so close. He could have gotten to a Cross Chop and taken me out, but we are able to Vine Whip them down. Now I include this next match because I think we can learn something very important from it. I was actually on the road to handling this Alolan Sandslash really well, and then I mess up and I basically throw the game. Like, it was completely my fault. So my opponent led Sandslash, and I immediately swapped in Carbink, and then they bring in the Jellicent. I went for a Moonblast and they didn't shield, and I'm just gonna no shield whatever my opponent is throwing. Thankfully, they throw the Surf here, and then we're going to bring in our Serperior and Vine Whip the Jellicent down. Now I really need to land a Frenzy Plant on this Alolan Sandslash. I'm gonna go ahead and go for an Aerial Ace Baits because the Alolan Sandslash actually likes to shield Frenzy Plant because it does quite a bit of damage. But this is where I mess up. I was tapping on the button for the Frenzy Plant instead of tapping away from it, and my opponent didn't even try to catch it. They brought in their Noctowl an entire fast move before I reached the Frenzy Plant, and they still managed to catch it. That was a really, really bad mistake on my part. I needed that Frenzy Plant saved for the Alolan Sandslash. If I had it, I would have been able to take their final shield here, and then this next Breaking Swipe would put them in range of the Frenzy Plant, and I would have been able to take them out. Unfortunately, because I messed up, because I didn't wait to see what my opponent was going to do, and I wasn't really paying attention, I lost that game. I basically threw it. But anyways, moving on to the next match, the algorithm is going to be very in our favor because we lead Serperior into a Lantern, and then my opponent swaps an Umbreon, and the Umbreon can't do anything against this Carbink. I'm sure we're all really excited to see this matchup, but it takes a while, so I'm gonna go ahead and speed it up a little bit because, yeah, we don't want to be sitting here forever. Finally, we take out the Umbreon, and we have a little bit of energy, or quite a bit of energy actually. We throw a Moonblast on the Lantern, and they are going to go ahead and throw a move before we can get to the Rock Slide and take us out with the Surf, and then my opponent has an Alolan Sandslash in the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Steelix, and I am going to go ahead and debuff it as much as I can. That way, when they do land a Drill Run, they won't be doing as much damage to us. Not only that, but also when I bring in Serperior, and if they decide to stay in, their Ice Punches are also going to be extremely debuffed. Now we're able to get our opponent very low with just the Breaking Swipes. They had to give up 1 shield in that matchup, and what I'm going to do here is I am going to go ahead and farm this Lantern all the way down. That way I have 2 Frenzy Plants for the Sandslash. The first one will take their final shield, and then the second one is going to take them out. GG's to our opponent. Moving on to the next match, we are going to be seeing an Altaria lead, which is really bad for us. I am going to go ahead and swap in my Carbink because I want to draw out a fighter. Now we managed to draw out a Deoxys. In this case, I'm thinking maybe the Steelix would have been a better safe swap in this situation, but this is fine. We're going to go ahead and throw a Moonblast on the Deoxys, and they decide to shield. Now, I'm not going to shield anything myself. I am going to be able to reach a Rock Slide. I'm not going to be able to reach another Moonblast, and they shield that as well. The fact that they used both shields in that matchup is going to be very good for Steelix in the back. That means if I need to Earthquake anything, I will be able to land the Earthquake. Now we just have to see what my opponent has in the back. I'm going to go ahead and immediately swap into Steelix, and they have a Machamp. Now I have 2 shields left, and you guys, this is going to be the closest game I have ever played. I'm going to go for this Earthquake. Unfortunately, it is not enough to KO the Machamp. We're going to have to shield the next Power Punch that they throw, and then my opponent is going to bring in the Altaria. I'm going to go for this Breaking Swipe. Hopefully we can reach another one. We almost reach it. We're not able to throw it, and they are going to go for a Sky Attack on our Serperior, but can we reach the Aerial Ace? We are able to reach it. We're able to take them out with 1 HP. We live with 1 HP to take out the Altaria, and we take that win. Moving on to the next match, we are going to be seeing a Deoxys lead. Now Serperior actually beats Deoxys pretty well, and then my opponent swaps into Registeel, and this whole team actually doesn't really have a solid answer to Registeel, so I'm going to actually have to stay in this with my Serperior. I'm going to go for these Frenzy Plants, which are going to be doing okay damage. Again, as we've seen, Frenzy Plant does decent resisted damage to Steel types. Now I am going to have to shield a move from this Registeel because I want to get it lower. I'm going to go for this Frenzy Plant. It is not going to be enough to KO, and here I don't throw a move because I would rather not get farmed down. I would rather farm them down than them farm me down. So I bring in Steelix, take out the Registeel with a Dragon Tail, and then they bring back in Deoxys. This is okay because Deoxys actually can't throw any charged moves that are going to be doing neutral or super effective damage to Steelix. They can only throw resisted charged moves. Only their fast move is going to be doing super effective. Now they are going to be going for that Psycho Boost and swapping into a Mandibuzz, and we have Carbink in the back, so GG's to our opponent. They top left. Unfortunately, there's not much that they could do there. On to the next match, we are going to be seeing an Alolan Ninetales lead. This isn't too bad because it's running Charm. That way, it can't get to the Weather Balls as fast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build up to the Frenzy Plant and then bait with an Aerial Ace, take their shield, and then I'm going to catch the Weather Ball on my Carbink and draw out whatever my back 2 Pokemon are going to be weak to. We draw out a Diggersby, which is okay. I'm going to go for a Moonblast because that is going to be doing neutral damage to this Diggersby. Now, good thing they're running Quick Attack because that means they aren't doing any fast move pressure to our Carbink. They're going to go for a Scorching Sands and take us out, and then we are going to bring in our Serperior. Now, I kind of want to keep my Serperior healthy because I want to try to land a Frenzy Plant on the Alolan Ninetales, and now I either take them out or I take their final shield. I'm gonna go for this Frenzy Plant. Let's see if my opponent decides to shield. They use their final shield, and now I can bring in Steelix. I'm gonna go ahead and shield this Weather Ball because they are staying in, which makes me think that they might have something in the back that is weak to Steelix. I do wait a turn because I had a feeling they would try to catch the Earthquake on whatever they had in the back. They attempted to catch it on a Sableye, so I go for the Breaking Swipes instead. I want to debuff the Sableye before it can get to a foul play, and my only win con there was to take 2 foul plays and have enough energy on my Steelix for an Earthquake so that when the Alolan Ninetales came in, I could throw the Earthquake immediately and take it out. But moving on to the final game of this video, we are going to be seeing an Alolan Sandslash lead. A very tricky lead. Again, I'm going to be swapping immediately into Carbink. Gonna shield the first drill run, but this time my opponent doesn't stay in the match. They swap out into their own Serperior. This is unfortunate for us. I am going to be going for that Moonblast, and they shield it, so also unfortunate for us. At this point, I'm just going to let the Carbink go. They take us out with the Frenzy Plant and the Vine Whip after, and then I bring back in my Serperior. Now they have so much energy stored up on their own Serperior. Unfortunately, we're going to have to take 2 Aerial Aces. Now, I think I'm going to attempt to catch the next one on my Steelix, and we managed to land an Aerial Ace. We catch the next Aerial Ace on Steelix successfully, and then they bring in their Alolan Sandslash. I'm going to go ahead and shield the first one. That way the second one that we are going to take is going to be debuffed. But it is looking like this match is unfortunately not going in our favor. We are going to have to take a drill run here, and that is going to put us very, very, very low. They still have a shield left also, so they go ahead and they let the Breaking Swipe go, and then they have a Pelipper in the back, and there's nothing we can do against that. GG's to our opponent. We got a 4-1 in that set. Really good. This team performed very, very well. And that brings us to the end of our video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned something. If you guys do end up using this team, please let me know how it performs for you and if it does well. And if you guys like my videos, please consider subscribing, maybe leaving a like. It helps me out so much. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!